I just finished making this adorable coin purse on my 32 needle Sentro circular knitting machine. As requested, this will be a slower step-by-step tutorial for you to make for yourself. You can also make this on the 40 needle circular knitting machine. So let's get going. I'm using the 32 needle circular knitting machine, and I start at my white needle. If you have the 40 needle circular knitting machine, I believe it's black. So to cast on, I hook my yarn around my first needle, and then I go over and under and over and under each needle one time around, and this is your cast on. Once back to your starting needle, put it into your yarn holder all the way, and we are going to crank out 32 rows. If you have the 40 needle circular knitting machine, you'll probably want to do around 40 rows. The 32 to 40 rows is probably the minimum you would like to do. You can always do more to make the bag longer. Now we're going to cast off by taking your working yarn out of the yarn holder and putting it on a plastic needle. So the white needle, it had the yarn hooked underneath it, and so the next one right next to it, which I believe is the number 2 needle, I start picking up each stitch, and this will make sure that the stitches are locked in place and they don't drop. So I like to pick up one at a time. This just makes it so I don't drop any stitches. Once you have each stitch picked up, it will be removed from your machine. Now we're going to start making the body or the bag of our coin purse. So this is just like what you do if you're making a beanie hat. So we're going to put it right side out, which is the V stitch, also called the knit stitch, and we're going to put each side of the tube together. So we're going to fold it in half, wrong side or purl side together with the V stitch on the outside, or the knit stitch. So now you have both your cast on and your cast off on the same side. And I just kind of make sure it's not twisted or anything. And now we're going to cinch closed both the inside layer and the outside layer. So I cinched this one down first. And this is what happens when you do the cast on and cast off like we did. It makes this cinch or drawstring effect. So I cinch in the inside real tight, and now we're going to do the outside. And you just do that by pulling on the end of the working yarn and closing it like a drawstring. Next, what I like to do is take both ends, and I'm going to knot it a few times to secure it so it doesn't come undone. Now I like to take my plastic needle again, put it on the end of one of the working yarns, and we're going to sew back and forth where we cinched closed both of our tubes. And I try to go through both the top and bottom layer, and this just helps to secure that end that we closed and knotted. Sometimes on beanie hats, I've noticed if I just knot it a few times after wear and washing, it can open up. And so we definitely don't want that to happen on our coin purse. So I like sewing back and forth a few times, and you can do it on the inside and the outside if you would like, or you could just try to go through 2 layers like I'm doing right now, and just make sure it will stay nice and tight and closed. Once I sew it through a few times, I also again knot it a few more times as well. And this is just extra security to keep it nice and tight and closed. Now I'm going to cut off my extra yarn, and then I'm going to take both ends of the tail pieces, and I'm going to put it in between the 2 layers with my needle. And so I just stick it through the outside layer, and then I make sure it doesn't go all the way through, but just going in between the 2 layers, pull out the extra, pull it tight, and then cut it off. And those little ends will just stay inside and no one will ever know that they're there. Now we're going to take our coin purse clasp. I have these linked on my Amazon storefront. The link's in my bio. You'll see a picture of the coin purse on my Amazon storefront, and it has all the links to everything that I use. So open up the clasp, and then we're going to put our knitted bag inside of it like this. So just decide what side you want to be your outside and your inside of the knitted part. And then you can get some household needles. There's one that comes with a really big eye of the needle, and it's big enough to use our same yarn to sew on the clasp. So to get it through that eye, I like to put the yarn around the needle and pinch it and pull it off, and then you're able to squish it in that eye of your needle. Sometimes takes a few tries because the yarn is a lot thicker, but then just kind of squish it in, and then you can pull it through. And that's how I put it on the needle. Makes it pretty easy. And then what's really nice with these clasps is they have holes that you can sew into. So I like to start on the inside and I'm going to pull my yarn through to the outside. And then I knot the end of this yarn just so it doesn't pull out as we're sewing. And you want to leave a little bit of a tail, leave a little bit longer than what I do, because once we sew all the way around, we're going to knot the two ends together. So this is just to make sure I don't pull it through. That's all that little knot is there for. And now we're just going to sew back and forth and all the way around. And so in the other video I did, I have it linked in the video description below. You can also add little beads, little pearls, whatever you would like at this stage. But for this one, we're just going to use the same yarn and we're going to sew it together. And as you can see, I pulled out the yarn, the tail end of the yarn that's knotted. I pulled it out a little bit to give me enough as I go around and knot it together to secure it all in place. And so it just kind of takes a little bit to sew this, but it's not too bad. You just go back and forth in between the pre-drilled holes in the clasp and go all the way around. So you can pause here as you do your first side of your clasp, sewing it all the way around. And then once you get to where the hinges here, I put my last needle in through the last hole. And now we're going to go to the other side of the clasp. And then, so what I just do is I stick it up in between the two layers of the yarn to get to the other side to hide the yarn I'm using to sew. So I just make sure it's pulled tight, and then I put it in between the two layers and pull it through. And then I start working on sewing up the other side all the way around to my start. And so you can pause the video here while you sew up the other side of your clasp. Now we're back at our start, and we just want to put our needle back in between the two layers to put it back onto the inside. And then we're going to knot the two tail ends of the working yarn together, knot it down a few times to secure it, and then I cut off any excess and I put it on a needle, and I put again the two tail ends between the two layers to hide them. So I think these make a wonderful gift, and of course you can use it for a lot more than just holding coins. You can use it for holding your chapstick, nail clippers. I'm putting in a necklace, earrings, 2 rings, and a bracelet. And so it can hold all that in your purse to keep your jewelry safe as well. So I appreciate everybody for watching. Please like and follow for more, and happy crafting.